Good afternoon. Welcome to the May 27th, 2025 meeting of the Georgetown County Council. Please note for the record, we do have a quorum present. Please join us as Councilor Reverend Cooper leads us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, as we look to you tonight, the author and finisher of our faith, we thank you for allowing us to come together. Thank you for even bringing us through the Memorial Weekend. We thank you for your safekeeping. And we ask you tonight, Lord, as we come together, the decision that we will make, we ask that you would be in our midst. We ask for the strength. We thank you for the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding. For we call it done now. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Thank you, Councilor Cooper. Move down to the approval of agenda. One note, we have a request. A request has been made to move the proclamation number 25-17 proclaiming the week of July 26th through August the 2nd as Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week 2025 in Georgetown County from Section 8 Resolutions and Proclamations to Section 4 Special Reports and Presentations. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Newton. There's a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Charlton. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. The agenda is approved. Move down to special reports and presentations. Today, sadly, is the last meeting for Ms. Geales Sands. She is retiring as the executive director of the Francis P. Burnell Foundation on the occasion of her retirement after 21 years of loyal and fabulous service. Georgetown County Council would like to offer our best wishes for a gratifying retirement and ask if she would come forward to take a picture with all us unworthy people sitting up here. All right, next we have our nonprofit spotlight, Georgetown Tales. The Georgetown County and Francis P. Burnell Foundation are partnering to spotlight a local nonprofit. This week's featured nonprofit is Georgetown Tidal Tales. Ms. Janet Frick is the founder and director, and she shall present. Ms. Frick, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you to all of you, members of the Georgetown County Council, not only for listening to us tonight, but for all you do for Georgetown County. We know sometimes it's a thankless job, people stopping you in the food line to tell you their problems, et cetera, but you just do great work for our county. This is Laura Gilbert, our board member.
I'm a board member, and I've been working with Janet on Georgetown Tidal Tales for about a year, but I would really say we've been collaborating together for close to 35 years, as she is, in fact, my mother.
And she won't say this, but I wanted Laura on our board because I don't know if you've ever heard of The Moth in New York or other storytelling series. They score their storytellers in New York, and you can go on to something called the Grand Slam, and Laura has won it 3 times. And we, don't you just love Georgetown?
Y'all are very kind.
But it's great because we do workshop the stories, our citizen storytellers, and we'll tell you all about that. But, we have to do it in a way not to crush your spirit. And Laura's great at that. And so anyway. So we're Georgetown Tidal Tales, and we'll let you go ahead and read our mission statement, but we'll tell you what it's really about when you come to a Tidal Tales show.
We are a performance-based nonprofit. It's about elevating and spotlighting the voices and stories of citizens of Georgetown and making that be for a good cause, both community building and sort of in a very literal way, because all of the proceeds from our shows go directly to benefit Georgetown nonprofits. And we can say that, and that sounds like a very lofty ambition, but if you'll go to the next slide, we'll show you what that really means in actuality. This is an image from our very first show in January. Here's what it's like to come to a Tidal Tales show. You show up at the theater, and we have a fantastic band that plays the first half an hour, and then we have between 6 and 8 citizen storytellers who tell 5-minute true stories with no notes on a theme. So the theme of our first show was For the First Time, and we have 3 storytellers, and then an intermission. The band comes back, plays another banger to get things started, and then we have 3 more storytellers, and then the band closes it out. So it's an evening of live theater, so featuring voices in the community. It's a fantastic time. That's really what we're doing. The mission statement is can be theoretical, but that's what the actual work is.
And it's fitting that you celebrated Geales Sands tonight, because we applied for a grant from the Bonnell Foundation, and it might be hard to connect the dots between addressing the root causes of poverty and building community with a storytelling program. But we tried our darndest, and we were able to get a mini grant, which really helped us and stopped the Bank of Janet. We were so grateful. And she said, she didn't know I was going to tell the story tonight, but she said we could tell the story. She had a bad cold the night of our first show. And I said, well, Geales, I'm going to send you 2 comp tickets. Please sit in the balcony and cough all you want. And after the show, she said she'd never seen anything like it, and she gave us a personal check to Georgetown Tidal Tales. I can't tell you what that meant to us.
So how did this all get started? We assembled a board. This is a photo of some of them. My mom picked people. Essentially, the criteria for being on the board was you had to really care about the cause, and you had to be willing to do some work to make it happen. So here's a picture of some of our members of our board. Next slide, please. And we built a robust website so that my mom, as some of you who may be fortunate enough to know her, she talks about this to everyone she comes into contact with. If you're in an elevator with my mom, she's going to tell you about Tidal Tales. So we needed to have a website that we could direct people to. The website is a hub for information about the nonprofit, but it's also a place where you can buy tickets. And most importantly, you can submit your pitch to tell your own story at an upcoming show. There's a link to a form there. We'll talk a little bit more about how that works a little bit later.
And you council members are no doubt saying, how can we help you, Janet and Laura? How can we help you? And this is how. We want to reach out to all areas of the county. And so we have a downloadable paper form that you can mail in, and we try to put those in the local libraries. But, we want you to reach out to your constituents, and everybody knows somebody who has a good story. So, we hope we don't exist. Our show doesn't exist without good stories. So far, we've had no problem getting them.
And so if it's a nonprofit about community building, ultimately the core team has to be in the community. And so here's a fine picture of my mom in one of the many community events she has inserted herself into.
Yeah, I was recently a judge at the Shrimp and Grits cook-off for the chamber, and I think the only criteria was that, man, I love to eat. I don't have like a distinguished palate, but I can eat. So here we were at the Plantersville Ride, and we went to the Town of Andrews Christmas parade. If you had a table and let us, and your price was low, we would go.
And here's a poster for our upcoming show, which, listen, if you don't have any plans this coming Saturday night, now you do. Our second show is this Saturday night. The theme is do-overs. Here we have some photos of our storytellers, our incredible storytellers from our first show. We would love to see you there. This poster, my mom would put this poster up everywhere, so if you've seen it before, she's done a great job. But if you don't have plans for Saturday night, we would love to see you at the Wynya Auditorium. It's this Saturday night.
Your story can be a tall tale, but it has to be true. That's the criteria. And there are some the South is actually known for its writers, its great speakers. It was just an untapped resource that I saw here. And we're just so thrilled that people have come forward and submitted stories and given us a great first show. And our second show, we have a 15-year-old at our second show talking about do-overs. Isn't that interesting?
He's wise beyond his years. No spoilers, but it's a fantastic show. So my mom is, right on the cusp of cutting edge technology. She's not afraid to use AI to generate an image. And before we had any shows, she used she used AI to generate this image as sort of a promotional thing. It was an aspirational image because she has always maintained from the beginning that the storytellers need to be a representative group that represents the whole community of Georgetown. So diversity in all dimensions. And so she generated this AI image before we had actual storytellers. And now you can see these are some storytellers from our first show. We had a high schooler all the way to a 75-year-old. It was an incredible night. It's so important to us that Georgetown can come to these shows and see themselves on stage. Humans love to watch humans. It's another reason why the citizen storytellers are so compelling, because I think, crucially, they're not stand-up comedians. They're not professional performers. They're people who could be your neighbor. And there's something intrinsic, I really believe in humans, that we love to watch people and talk about things that resonate with us. And it's just such a fantastic, magical recipe to have citizen storytellers on stage sharing things that are true and honest. It's incredible.
So this is kind of a boring part, so I'll go quickly. We'll use Ticket Leap as our third-party ticket vendor. Why? Because it keeps our ticket price low, and that was a decision our board made. Our tickets are $10 at the door. You can't go to a movie, you can't take a yoga class for $10. And even with Ticket Leap's fees, it's $11.55. And beyond that, it gives us the opportunity to thank the people who buy online with a note, which I did, and remind them of future shows, which I did. And here, we're probably not going to be able to read it.
Yeah. So this is a piece of feedback we got, totally unsolicited, from a person who came to our first show. And the gist of it, and the reason we wanted to share it, is that she mentions that she came to the show alone, and that it was such a warm and inviting the crowd and the atmosphere. She felt really welcomed, and that it was an incredible time. And that's exactly what we're going for. That's exactly the atmosphere we're trying to cultivate. We want it to be a place where you feel like you belong. I feel like it's such a human need. And anyway, we were thrilled to receive this email.
We had a great grand opening where we've been totally supported by the Georgetown County Chamber. They're right at the top of our list in terms of supporting us. And then I've got a great co-host who's half my age. We're friends. And again, you see different people. You see yourselves on stage.
Our first show, the check went to benefit the Georgetown branch of Habitat for Humanity, so it was really exciting to be able to give a meaningful material donation. This show benefits a father's place, which is an incredible Georgetown nonprofit that we'll tell you more about, or you'll learn more about the show.
Yep, they're going to have a table. We participated in Palmetto Giving Day and raised almost $10,000. And this on the right, you see some of our donations. Were really from just citizens. They came in increments of $10 and $20, which we loved.
Those of you who are detail-oriented may notice the typo on this slide, 2 eyes in community, and I just want to say that we caught that typo when it was too late for us to change this, but here's the take we have on it. Listen, community is all about multiple eyes. There's not one eye in community. Really, there should be a lot more eyes in community.
And finally, the many members of our family are in the military, and we're fond of this flag, don't give up the ship. There's no program like this, not only in Georgetown, but in South Carolina. We're so proud to have the support of Georgetown, and we just don't stop. We just don't take no. We just will not give up this ship. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Councilor Anderson.
Ladies, have y'all ever been up to Jonesboro, Tennessee to storytelling up there?
No, I have not.
You have not?
No.
You got to go do that.
Yeah? All right.
Would you agree, Miss Angela?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Mother-daughter vacation coming up.
Sounds
All
like a
right.
plan.
You'll really enjoy it. It's a big deal up there in East Tennessee. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Chairman, I have a question.
Councilor
My
Reverend
question.
Cooper.
You made mention that the proceeds goes to the nonprofit. How do you determine which nonprofit? Do you have a listing?
That's such a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of interest from local nonprofits, and we actually do use the Bunnell Foundation's as a vetting mechanism, because we then know that they're a legitimate. It helped us because we don't have a huge research arm. It's just our arms. So our board votes. Sometimes we try to make it go with our theme. We felt that A Father's Place gives a lot of do-overs to young men in our community, so we felt like that dovetailed with our theme. But we just vote. People give us their nonprofit names, and we entertain them all.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for everything you do. Next up, we have a report from Mr. Steve Lowe with the Gallagher Company on our High Performance Employer Award. Mr. Lowe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm not sure can follow that one up, but I'll do my best. Thank you, members of the council, for having me this evening. I'm Steve Love. I represent Gallagher Benefit Services. We've had the privilege of working with Georgetown County for the past 4 years as their benefit broker and consultant. And tonight I'm here. It's just a real pleasure to be able to reward and award Georgetown County for the hard work that the administration and the HR department is putting forth. They have won. Georgetown County is a recipient of Gallagher's High Performance Employer Award for best results and overall health and welfare plan experience. So congratulations, Georgetown County. I want to dive in a little bit on what that means. So through the High Performance Employer Award, Gallagher, we try to recognize employers who are the best of the best in terms of keeping their overall health care expense down and improving the lives of their employees by keeping chronic conditions down. And Georgetown County has excelled in that area. Just as a summary, no, back up one time, Randy. Thank you. Just to give you an overview of what consists or what is made up of the award, 210 organizations all up and down the East Coast, from Maine down to Florida, across all industry segments, so not just public entities, were attending our conference and were eligible for the award. 19 organizations out of those 210 were nominated for High Performance Employer Awards, and of those 210 organizations, that represents 1.7 million members. We call those employees and their dependents that might be on a health plan. So a huge pool of applicants and employee independents. There are 5 categories of a High Performance Employer Award: one for strategy, culture, innovation, results, and then the overall Employer of the Year award. And as I mentioned earlier, out of all the employers who are considered high performance employers, Georgetown County was recognized as one of the best at overall health plan performance and cost control. So 2 years in a row is fantastic. So they done a fantastic job on that. Yeah, thanks. And what that simply means is they achieve best-in-class results in terms of controlling their healthcare costs. And when I say controlling, they've actually reduced their healthcare costs over the past 5 years on average. And I'll get to some of those numbers here in a second. And then probably a little bit more importantly, or equally important, they've improved the health of employees by managing and reducing chronic conditions. So employees show up to work, they're healthier, they live healthier lives, and that trickles down in terms of your healthcare control, your cost control. So all that's fantastic, and I want to get into a little bit of how they did it. So just give you some ideas. I break it down into 3 main categories, and kudos to the team for putting together a great culture of well-being. I would say from the top down, there's a buy-in from Angela, from Walt, from Karis to Amy King. The whole committee is committed to improving the lives of employees and keeping healthcare costs low. The involvement and commitment of I call them a committee, but our team, so to speak, we meet monthly on a regular basis to go over performance results. look at what's working, what's not working, and always evaluating better ways to optimize the health plan and reduce cost. And as I mentioned, over the past 5 years, they've been able to reduce their healthcare cost. Another way that they have contributed to reducing healthcare costs is the on-site clinic, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with. That helps drive employee engagement, helps improve outcomes for the employee, and it's simply a convenient way to access care here at the county. And then the Wellness Committee is also is a great layman's, if you will, grassroots, boots on the ground way to evaluate wellness activities and priorities, strategies that might work or might not work, and communicate that to coworkers and peers. And the great thing about the committee is it's not just the healthy folks who are on the Wellness Committee. It's a cross-section, broad cross-section of employees across departments at various stages of their wellness journey. So those are the three main culture drivers, I would say, for the Georgetown County. They've excelled in that area. The second part that they've excelled in is strategy. And this is over multiple years, and it's an ever-evolving dynamics when we talk about strategy. If you remember, Georgetown County was with the state health plan through PEBA years ago. And one of the reasons for leaving PEBA and the state health plan was a couple of reasons. One was more flexibility and plan control. They want to be able to effectively reduce their health care costs a little bit better than what PEBA was actually experiencing. And the goal was to keep their healthcare trend, and when I say trend, that basically means medical inflation or their healthcare cost increases. They wanted to keep that flat. That was a pretty lofty goal because the industry average is about 8% annually, depending on the source that you cite. About 8%, give or take, annually is what most organizations see in terms of healthcare cost increase over years. So their goal was to keep that flat. It's a pretty lofty goal. They've been able to do that through very thoughtful and intentional strategies, which I'll go through here in give you guys a couple of things that they've done. I've already talked about the on-site clinic. Fantastic, no cost to the employees to go to the on-site clinic. Anything that the employee has done there at the clinic is no cost to them. It's free healthcare, but also pharmacy. So they get prescriptions there as well. And it's not just the inexpensive generics. Walt and his team has said, well, it makes sense if we give generics away, let's give a little bit more expensive brand names because we think long-term impact's going to have a trickle down and lower our healthcare costs. So that's been a fantastic addition to the Georgetown County. They have gone to a self-funded health plan, which, as we mentioned, gives a lot more plan flexibility and cost controls that we can get really strategic and really innovative with. And then I think probably the best dynamic in terms of the four folks I mentioned on the team is they're never satisfied, they never rest, and they never settle. So we've got great results, which you're going to see here. But each meeting, Walt and Angela, Amy, and Karis are always saying, all right, what else can we do to even make it even better? I'll give you a couple of those dynamics. One, they have a $50 copay to go to outpatient imaging or outpatient surgery, as long as it's an independent freestanding facility. A lot less expensive, and it doesn't go towards a member's deductible and co-insurance. They have a fantastic, in terms of morale for the employees, an annual meeting that celebrates success and wellness and well-being. Fantastic food if you've never been. And the morale for the employees is just off the charts. They have instituted an outcomes-based wellness program. All that simply means is, as an employee, a Georgetown County employee can go, and if they meet certain thresholds, for cholesterol, blood pressure, A1C for diabetics, they get money. They get rewarded and have money deposited into a reimbursement account. So that's been very, very well received. They have a GOAT program, which is a Georgetown Outdoor Adventure Trails, which incorporates hiking and kayak trails across the county. They also have a whole host of mental health and financial health resources as well, including a financial advisor from the South Carolina Deferred Comp Program, meets with employees on a regular basis. And one thing they've added here, I talk about they never settle and never rest. We saw in the claims analysis that we look at each month that we had a prevalence of musculoskeletal conditions. That's your back, that's your shoulders, that's your knees, that's that type of thing. The traditional way to treat that is either medication or surgery. Surgeries are very expensive. Well, we've got a very new technology that can use your own cells to treat that, and you don't have surgery. A lot lower cost, a lot less time to recuperate. You're back on the job as an employee, and it's less expensive for the employee as well. We've just instituted that this year, but just to give you an idea of the ever-evolving nature of their program. And probably one of the best things of the program is they've had no increases to an employee's paycheck contribution since 2018. And that's, in our industry, in our world, that's unheard of. So kudos to you guys for doing that. All right, and then in terms of the best-in-class results, just at a high level, chronic conditions have decreased. I'm going to show you a slide and show you those numbers here in a second. But again, keeping employees healthy gives them a better outlook on life. They can live a healthier life, but it also reduces your healthcare cost. And then healthcare cost reduction, we call it the 5 for 5. They have averaged a 5% decrease over the past 5 years in healthcare cost. Just to give you some perspective, as I mentioned, the industry average is about an 8% increase. So they are bucking the trend and going the other way, which is fantastic. All right, Randy. All right, let's look at some of the numbers just to give you some meat on the bone, so to speak. Just show you some of the numbers. So chronic conditions here. The first thing that we want to take a look at is how do we improve employees' health and reduce chronic conditions. Now, to be a high-performance employer, we've been doing this for many, many years, and we've come up with a formula. So the highest-performing companies, they see an 80% of their population following what we call standards of care, doing what they're supposed to do, taking their meds and doing that type of thing, and going to their preventive care visits, 80%. 70% of folks who might be what we call at risk, that's have a chronic condition, could be diabetes, could be metabolic disorder, hypertension, high cholesterol, those types of things. As long as you have 70% of the folks either holding the line, staying where they are, or improving, as long as they're not getting any worse, that's the magic formula. That's when you actually see your healthcare costs reduce or at least stay pretty constant and have that flat goal achieved, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. So on this slide here, it represents, the colors will represent hypertension, which is, of course, high blood pressure, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, fancy word for high cholesterol, and then metabolic disorder. So the color graph is just to give you a visual, and it represents the numbers down below. So if you take a look at the bottom left-hand corner, if you take a look at 2019 hypertension, that first upper left-hand corner of that table, 2019 PMPY, that's per member per year. So that's employees and dependents of Georgetown County. If someone had a hypertension, the average cost of that member was about $19,000 in change for healthcare costs. That's medications, that's treatments, that's complications that might put you in the hospital, the whole 9 yards, on average about $19,000. If you take a look over to the right-hand side, 2024, it's down to $10,000 per member per year. That's a 46% reduction from 2019 to 2024 in that chronic condition, high blood pressure. It's fantastic. Same for diabetes. They've seen a 34% reduction in diabetes, 55% in high cholesterol reduction or hyperlipidemia, and then metabolic disorder, 41%. So just fabulous results on keeping folks healthy, improving the health of employees. And then if you take the next slide, Randy, all that translates into healthcare cost reduction. As I mentioned earlier, we call it the 5 for 5 for these guys, and it's really unheard of in the industry. They've had success in lowering chronic conditions, which equals lower healthcare cost. The color graph is just a visual of the total medical and pharmacy healthcare spend for the county, and then down below are the numbers that back that up. So if you take a look at 2019, again, we'll start there as a baseline, where you see total medical and RX, that just means total medical and pharmacy, $7.7 million was what was spent as their medical and pharmacy health plan. If you take a look at, right to the next door to that is 559, that's per member per month, just to kind of give you even that number out, you divide it by per member per month. 2020, they had a 4% reduction in those healthcare costs. That's great. It's fantastic. 2021, we had a little blip. It went back up to 4%. However, you take the negative and the plus, and you're even for those 2 years. But look at 2022. That's when lightning strikes, and that's when their savings was really turbocharged. So all the things that they had been doing, the clinic, the managing chronic conditions, et cetera, that's really when it picked up steam. You had a 6.6% reduction from 2021. The following year, 2023, 6.8%. And then the big winner, last year, we had 11.7% reduction in healthcare costs. It's just fantastic numbers here. Again, keep in mind, if you look at the bottom, the industry average is 8 to 10%, depending on the source that you look at. They have a 5-year average of negative 5%. So their healthcare costs are going down year over year on average over that 5 years. If you take a look at 2023 to 2024, that year alone, from 2023 to last year, they saved $635,000 in their healthcare cost. And then look at the bottom. Now, this does not factor in the clinic. When you factor in the clinic and the savings that they have been able to achieve year over year from the clinic, it's over $1 million in savings when you factor in the clinic to this puzzle as well. So just fantastic results all the way around. These were Georgetown County is the best of the best in all the companies that we looked at. I will say that they are bucking the trend, as I mentioned. It's probably unrealistic to think this is going to last forever. Just the nature of claims, they can be very cyclical, so you'll have good years and bad years. We've been very fortunate here at the county, and then you might have some conditions that just present themselves unexpectedly and catastrophic in nature. So, but what they have done is an exceptional job of controlling what they can control, and the results speak for themselves. All right, and then the last, this just gives you a visual of the per member per month cost. And what I like to see here is 8% annually is the industry average year over year. That's a trend line of about like that. You can see they're going down, they're going negative, and it's a beautiful trend line going negative. They saved, if you take a look from 2019, far left to far right, $129 per member per month in that time period. So just fantastic. So that's really it for me. Again, it's my privilege to present Angela, Walt, Karis, and Amy the High Performance Employer Award, and just kudos to you guys for excelling in your industry. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Love?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I think I know it, but I want to make sure Walt Mike can answer it. Does these numbers include workers' comp costs? Or you got that broken out totally separate?
No, sir, we've saved an additional policy workers' comp.
But it's not included,
No, sir. Yes.
but that's also a reduction.
Major reduction, yes, sir.
That is impressive.
Well, approximately how many employees are we talking about in Georgetown County?
Enrolled on the health insurance with employees and retirees, we average about 5.5. And that's why Steve always wants to break it down per member per month or per member per year, because that number can fluctuate. Stay pretty consistent about that.
That is very impressive. Thank you, sir. Any further comments? All right, picture time.
Thank you.
Where the bell? We'll take our pictures. Where the bell? Yeah, put it over.
Mr. Anderson, I think if you all can get into the in between Amy and Karis, maybe, or the on the other end. There you go, that'll work. All right, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. A couple without the flag. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Mr. Love. For the record, I am not helping any of those numbers. Next, we move down to the Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Beth Stedman, President of the Georgetown County Chamber, will present the budget for fiscal year 25-26. Ms. Stedman, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I also have with us tonight Mark Stevens, who's our Director of Tourism Development. This is the portion of our budget that accrues to the chamber as in our role as a designated marketing organization. So you've been presented this budget. You received another budget back in December for a different portion, but this is the portion that accrues as part of the DMO agreement. I don't know if you have any questions. It's pretty straightforward. We kept our income this coming year projected as flat due to a lot of the economic uncertainties and how that may impact travel. The good news is that if we receive extra funds, we have the means to spend it and ways to spend it. So this is a good, it's a lot easier to spend money that's extra than it is to find ways to subtract. So we tried to keep it fairly flat this year, but we are very optimistic about the future of tourism on South Carolina's Hammock Coast. And I want to ask Mr. Stevens if he has anything in particular he wants to add.
Well, I can tell you that I got the latest reports for the 2% state ATAX, the February numbers. So those fiscal numbers for the state, 2% goes from June to May. So we are about $200,000 ahead at this point from last year in that report. So I'm very optimistic. I'm going to knock on wood.
No, we don't get that $200,000.
No,
I want to make that clear.
No, but it just to say an indication of how we're going to complete this fiscal year here in Georgetown County on the Hammock Coast is looking positive, and hopefully that extends into the next fiscal year.
So I don't know if anyone has particular questions about the budget that's presented.
Are there any questions for Beth or Mark? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the budget.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved by Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you.
Very much.
We will move down now to Proclamation number 25-17, proclaiming the week of July 26th through August the 2nd as Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week 2025 in Georgetown County. We will now get a report from Ms. Maya Morant, our Economic Development Marketing Director. Ms. Morant.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for this opportunity to present this proclamation to you all. So Proclamation number 25-17, proclaiming the week of July 26th through August 2nd as Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week 2025 in Georgetown County. The Gullah Geechee people are descendants of enslaved Africans from various ethnic groups of West and Central Africa brought to the U.S. and forced to work on the plantations of coastal South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. Gullah Geechee people have retained many aspects of their African heritage. In 2006, the U.S. Congress enacted the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Act for preservation of historic sites, including those in the Low Country relating to Gullah culture. Proclamation 25-17 recognizes and celebrates the importance of the Gullah Geechee culture, as well as the history and legacy of the Gullah Geechee culture in Georgetown County. Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week will launch on historic St. Helena Island on Saturday, July 26, 2025 at noon. The theme for this year's celebration is 25 years of self-determination, celebrating the roots and legacy of the Gullah Geechee Nation. And I want to recognize also, it is also Queen Quest's 25th anniversary as head Pondi Body and the official spokesperson of the Gullah Geechee Nation. We invite her to speak here.
Good evening, Georgetown County. Glad if you did back here one more again with 100 children. This is the first time my mama come here too with me. She did here this evening and thing like that from St. Helens Island, South Kakalaki. So I'm so glad if you did here, and I see that Mr. Morant got it chilling here and thing like that. It's a blessing this evening because we know one thing about the Gullah Geechee. We love family. We love God. We love family. We love we land. So when I get it, the man mentioned this and the boots on the ground thing, I was ready for us to get the fans out a little while because I thought the celebration was starting this evening right then. But I'm glad to tell y'all to be glad that one more again, Georgetown County going to celebrate who we be as Gullah Geechee. Because we couldn't say 100 of the year and we Gullah Geechee in the from race. And this your county, the world over, been on from that Carolina gold. But rather us, the richness of we come through black gold. And who we be as Gullah Geechee. So for this 25th anniversary, we were so glad to get the message that Georgetown County been want to be the first one to give me the proclamation, but Governor McMaster beat you to it. He had the first one, but y'all the first county, but we stayed also celebrating Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week with weekend this year. Yeah. So thank you one more again, Georgetown County. It's a blessing to be back here, and we going to be back here, boots on the ground, fans out. During that week, celebrating with you right here on the hammock coast, because everybody might need to lay down in a hammock after all the partying. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you for this evening. Thank you, Sister Morant. It's a blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm so sorry, council. Some of y'all are coming, so y'all didn't know it was time that I was finished because I said that all in Gullah for the vineyards. But I also brought these that tell you about Gullah Geechee Family Day when the week launches and a number of other events that we'll be having. And so I will leave some also on the podium, but these are for the clerk and for the council members. And so I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion on Proclamation 25-17 proclaiming the week of July 26th through August the 2nd as Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week 2025 in Georgetown County.
So move.
So moved by Councilor Morant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Suck in that gut. Yeah, suck in that gut.
Thank you, everyone. We move on down to our public comment period. Public comment is included on each meeting agenda and shall be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and no speaker may yield his or her allotted time to another speaker. A timer is provided on screen, and at the end of your time, please wrap up your comments promptly. While speaking, please be sure to address council only and refrain from personal attacks. While a speaker has the floor, the public will respect the speaker and allow them their time to address council. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk to court before the meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers for tonight's meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 6 speakers signed up tonight, and as you stated, each will have 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is going to be Mickey Todd.
Good evening, Council. Here to speak tonight about private property impounds. Code's outdated, hadn't been updated since 2009. Inflation's kind of killing us right now. Everything's gone up. The rate in the county right now is $150, and every other county's right around $266. And the storage is at $45 a day. It follows state rates. It's kind of dangerous what we do. We have to go out in the middle of the night. You know, handicap parking spots, businesses get their parking spots blocked. Bank deposit boxes, ATMs get blocked. We have to go out. It takes longer to do these jobs because we don't have keys to the cars, have to dolly them, you know, get threatened, get slandered. So we'd like some help with that. It just needs to be updated. If you would, we'd appreciate you considering it. 2009, long time for that to go without being addressed. Our insurance is outrageous on these tow trucks. My 3 trucks is $40,000 a year. My oil changes on those trucks, servicing's around $477 a truck each time I do it. So it's kind of expensive to operate these businesses. And we'd appreciate your help with that if you could, you know, take time to take a look at it. That's all I got.
Robert Sabb Jr. Elaine Cooper.
Good evening. With regards to the proposed golf course rezoning, I'd like to share some information that was gathered by a friend of mine. 10 years ago, Dan Liu came to Myrtle Beach and purchased 22 golf courses with money from a peer-to-peer group called Easy Richness. Liu and his partner set up shady LCCs to funnel the money to themselves, family, and friends. When this came to light in China, Liu's partner told the courts that Mr. Liu was in control of the company when it could not pay its $1.7 billion to its investors. This woman's currently serving a 15-year prison sentence for fraud. At least 12 of Mr. Liu's senior staff members have also been arrested by Chinese authorities on charges of fraud. Mr. Liu has been placed on the list of top most sought-after criminals in China. Meanwhile, Mr. Liu is living somewhere enjoying the money he stole from his own people. He's taken the life savings of 92,000 victims and the lives of many advisors who committed suicide after they played a role in persuading friends and family members to invest in Easy Richness. Mr. Liu is not an American citizen and could be extradited at any time, leaving the future of all the golf courses owned by the Founders Group in limbo, and putting property owners with golf course lots at risk of losing the value of their properties. In a video sent to his investors, Mr. Liu said he would sell all of his assets to pay them their due. Mr. Liu also told Sun News he was not going to sell his holdings. Mr. Liu is not a man to be trusted, and you should not play a part in enriching his life while his victims and the people that you represent pay for his crimes. I'm requesting that you do whatever you can, as quickly as you can, to protect us. That would be to immediately rezone all golf course properties as private recreation, a zoning change that is long overdue and would provide the maximum protection for all of our citizens on the neck. Thank you.
Mary Beth Klein.
First of all, I would like to take a page from Janet Frick and thank you all for your service on this council. She alluded to it, but I am sure that it often feels like a thankless job. And I wanted to make sure that you all know that your efforts are greatly appreciated. With that in mind, however, I still don't understand how we are here tonight to talk about the neighborhood amenity proposal for the golf courses, when 6 weeks ago, these chambers were filled with hundreds of citizens opposing this proposal and requesting a non-residential option. We even had a state senator attend the Planning Commission meeting who stated publicly, after hearing everybody, this is not how government is supposed to work. The council and the residents on these golf courses should be coming together and working toward a solution that is acceptable to everyone. And wisely and accountably, our Planning Commission sent on to you their recommendation to defer this current proposal until those sessions could be held and a solution reached. So why didn't you? Why do you continue to refuse to come up with a non-residential option on zoning for our golf courses? Why are you bending over backwards to accommodate a potential developer and current owner who, as Elaine just stated, is a Chinese felon? Well, in business, I was taught when you can't figure something out, follow the money. And so I ask you, who exactly is benefiting financially from this neighborhood amenity proposal? Because it is clearly not our residents who live on these golf courses. Do you really want to yet again ignore the desire of the majority of the residents in these communities who voted for you? Do you want to vote against them? So please consider the impact of this and act responsibly and, dare I say, courageously, and get these parties together to come up with a solution that is non-residential. Thank you.
Cindy Person.
Good evening. I am here this evening as a 35-year resident of Litchfield Country Club. I'm here to speak about the golf course rezoning. I'm also here tonight as legal counsel for many residents of both golf course communities, some of whom are seated here this evening and some of whom could not be here. There's no group of people that understands the urgency of protecting our golf courses better than Litchfield Country Club residents. These are not gated communities. They're not planned developments. We saw the unthinkable play out in real life when founders sold off the Litchfield Racquet Club to build 105 high-density condominium units. We certainly support the need to immediately change the existing R10 zoning, as well as the county's stated goal of protecting the golf courses against residential development. Clearly and logically, the best protection against residential development is to not allow it. While the proposed neighborhood amenity zoning may be preferable to R10, the problem is that it still allows residential development. We appreciate and support the efforts of Bob Anderson to amend the language and make the best of it in a way that minimizes residential impact, but to allow any residential development or any residential use to any degree is an open invitation for developers. There's solid legal precedent that recognizes a local government's unquestionable authority to rezone golf courses for purely recreational use. They're golf courses. We've thoroughly researched the issue. It's not even a close call legally, especially in a case like ours where the golf courses have been golf courses for 50 years. There are no arguable vested rights. Please do not be influenced by scare tactics. We should be here tonight to vote on private recreational zoning district. Why is the county more interested in protecting the Chinese owner of these golf courses than its own tax-paying citizens? The people have spoken. And we feel that our voices are falling on deaf ears. We respectfully request you to, first of all, return the comprehensive plan designation to private recreational as it was since 2007 until last year, and create a conforming non-residential zoning district. In the meantime, temporarily rezone the golf courses as neighborhood amenity until the non-residential zoning district can be drafted and approved. Thank you.
Barry? Gary?
Howdy, good evening. The last meeting, you guys really missed a good meeting. I was really shocked when I found out that 6 out of the 7 seats were volunteers. I was thinking, what the heck? But I'll try to be brief about it. The meeting, I wish that meeting was videotaped and stuff, because everybody, all the seats were full, and everybody's consensus was they don't want any development in the golf courses. The golf courses are your bread and butter of South Carolina. I mean, Myrtle Beach is worldwide known for their golf courses. And what bothers me as a resident is examples of developers, like, I guess you guys know a lot more about it than I do, but Indian Wells, of course, it's in Horry County, but they made kind of a disaster of that. It just sits there now and it's an eyesore when people drive by. Let's go back to Georgetown County. If you're going to the landfill and you're going out that way, you see hundreds of acres that they cashed in on all the trees and everything, but the land has been sitting there. You know better than I do how long the land's been sitting there, and they're just sitting on it. And what happens, it seems to me, is that there's some little bumps in the road, and then all of a sudden they just sat back, and then the public, the taxpayers, are stuck with, what's going on. But oh God, I was sitting over there trying to think. I was having the conversation in my mind, and it was coming out a lot better. But it just, oh God. I couldn't get a volunteer to do my job. I mean, I'd have to be there every day on the job and not, instead of sending a volunteer, I don't really understand. I understand that the volunteers, that they were like messengers and they reported back to you guys, but now we see the real elected officials and stuff. And, I just kind of at a loss for words, but thank you for listening to me. Have a good night.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for all the comments. We move on down to the consent agenda. Please know that the 2 items on the consent agenda were previously approved by virtue of the agenda's approval process. Procurement number 25-029, runway and taxiway lighting rehabilitation at Robert F. Swinney Airport. Staff recommends awarding the lowest bidder, Walker and Whiteside Incorporated, for the base amount of $416,557. And RFQ 25-015, Georgetown County Zoning Map Update and UDO Development. Staff recommends the highest offer, or awarding the highest ranked offer, Inspire Place Making Collective Incorporated of Orlando, Florida. We move down to public hearings. Ordinance number 25-14, an ordinance to make appropriations for the county purposes for Georgetown County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026, to provide for the expenditure thereof, to provide for revenues for the payment thereof, as well as adjustments to various fee schedules. We will now open the floor to public comments pertaining to ordinance number 25-14. Hearing none, the public comment is now closed. We will move down to resolutions and proclamations. Proclamation number 25-16, proclaiming the month of June as Elevated Fatherhood Month in Georgetown County. Ms. Alma Sierra, our Deputy Clerk to Council, will give us a report. Ms. Alma, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, declaring the month of June as Elevate Fatherhood Month presents an opportunity for all of the citizens of Georgetown County to celebrate and honor the essence of fatherhood, acknowledging the unwavering efforts of fathers in shaping our communities, and staff recommends the approval of this proclamation.
Thank you, Ms. Sierra. Are there any questions for Ms. Sierra? The chair will entertain a motion on proclamation number 25-16, proclaiming the month of June as Elevate Fatherhood Month in Georgetown County.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Charlton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation passes. Move down to proclamation number 25-17, proclaiming the week of July 26th through August the 2nd as Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week 2025 in Georgetown County. Note the presentation was made during special reports and presentations. Proclamation number 25-18, providing the preliminary approval pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976 as amended for the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Georgetown County, South Carolina and Diatom US Incorporated, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, incentives, special source revenue credits, and other related matters. We will now hear a report from the County Attorney, Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this proclamation is related to the item you find under first reading 10C, ordinance number 2523, which will provide for the fee in lieu. This simply just states council's preliminary approval of that, and Diatom is a company out of Brazil that has been, I think, been about a year or more that we've been working with them, and they're developing a facility out towards Andrews. We'll be working with them on economic incentives to continue with that project.
Thank you, Councilor Attorney Watson. Are there any questions for Attorney Watson? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion on proclamation number 25-18, providing preliminary approval pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976 as amended for the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu and ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Georgetown County, South Carolina and Diatom US Incorporated, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, incentives, special source revenue credits, and other related matters. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation carries as approved. We move down to proclamation number 2419, authorizing a 3-year lease agreement for the operation of the Pleasant Hill Recycling Center. Attorney Watson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just a continuation of an agreement we've had for property out in the Pleasant Hill area for our recycling center. I think we've had it operating for how many years now? About 7 possibly or so, and it's just time to renew it. And so this is a renewal of the lease. I have reviewed it. There were a few changes that we made, but it's a continuation of an agreement we've had for some time now.
Thank you, Attorney Watson. Are there any questions for Attorney Watson? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion on Proclamation Number 2419, authorizing a 3-year lease agreement for the operation of the Pleasant Hill Recycling Center. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Morant. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation passes. We're moved down to second reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 25-14, an ordinance to make appropriations for ordinary county purposes for the Georgetown County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026 to provide for the expenditure thereof, to provide for revenues for the payment thereof, as well as adjustments to various fee schedules. We will hear a report now from Ms. Karis Langston, our Finance Director. Ms. Langston, the floor is yours.
Excuse me. So that was a whole big fancy thing to say. This is our 25-26 budget ordinance. The total budget for fiscal year 26 is $121,460,685. That includes a 0.7 mil increase to the law enforcement fund, as well as a 5% pay increase for all county employees and 2 additional positions, full-time positions. The proviso included also allows for an increased landfill tipping fee and a stormwater MS4 permit fee schedule. You were provided all the information in your budget summaries at the last council meeting, but if you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. Otherwise, we ask for second reading approval of ordinance 2025-14.
Thank you, Ms. Langston. Are there any questions for Ms. Langston? Councilor Newton?
Go for it. Come on. Give it to me.
Okay, the chair will hear a motion for the second reading or approval of ordinance 25-14, an ordinance to make appropriations for ordinary county purposes for Georgetown County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, ending June 30th, 2026, to provide for the expenditures thereof, to provide for revenues for the payment thereof, as well as adjustments to various fee schedules. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilor Mercado. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now call for a motion to incorporate the amended text. Is there a second, or is there a motion on the floor for the amended text?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Is there any discussion? We will now vote on the amendment. All in favor of the motion to incorporate the amended text, please raise your hand. All opposed? The amended text is, the motion is passed for the incorporate the amended text. We'll now move back to the original motion. And is there a, hang on. We will now call for a vote on the second reading approval of ordinance 2514. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? The ordinance passed. We'll move down to ordinance 25-16, and a request to rezone one parcel located off Powell Road in the Sandpit community, totaling approximately 103.88 acres, identified as TMS 01-0434-033-00-00, from Village 10,000 square feet VR10 to Forest Agricultural FA in Council District 3. We have a report from Ms. Holly Richardson. Ms. Richardson, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This parcel, as you said, is located east of Powell Road. It's in the Sandpit community. There is one structure that is somewhat demolished on the site, but it is mostly vacant property. The property is currently zoned VR10, which allows for 4 residential units per acre. The proposed rezoning to FA, or Forest and Agriculture, would only allow for 1 unit per acre. So in terms of density, this is a proposed downzoning of the site. FA does also allow for agricultural and some limited commercial uses, such as farms, nurseries, a veterinarian's office, produce stands, and some limited commercial establishments. The setbacks for FA are 50 in the front, 20 from the sides, and 30 from the rear. And as I said, the minimum lot size there is 1 acre. The parcel is within the Georgetown County Water and Sewer District service area, so water is available to the site. Sewer is not, so any development there would have to utilize a septic tank and get permitting through SCDES. The surrounding tracts are all zoned either VR10 or FA, and the tract is over 100 acres in size, so staff does not see spot zoning as an issue for this request. Future land use map designates the property as rural village. All the property in that area is either RV or rural residential. We think that the current designation and the proposed designation don't conflict with this language on the future land use map, so we're not recommending a change. The property is not located within a flood zone. The Planning Commission met and had a hearing on this request on April 17th. There was one neighbor that spoke. I think their concerns were about the zoning of their own property, and the commission then voted 7-0 to recommend approval for the rezoning to FA. I'll be glad to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson?
Holly, did you mention that the planning and zoning meeting, was anybody spoke out against that?
There was one person that spoke. I think they were concerned about where their property actually sat and was their property actually being rezoned.
Any further questions from Ms. Richardson? The chair will now entertain a motion for second reading of ordinance 25-16, a request to rezone one parcel located off Powell Road in the Sandpit community totaling approximately 103.88 acres, identified as TMS 0104034-033-00-00 from Village 10,000 square feet residential or VR10 to Forest Agriculture FA in Council District 3. Is there a motion on the floor?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
So moved by Councilor Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newton. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? The ordinance passes. Move down to ordinance number 25-18 to amend Article 4, General Provisions, Article 5, Establishment of Districts, Article 6, Requirements by District, Article 7, Area, Yard, and Height Requirements, and Article 10, Sign Regulations to add a new zoning district, the Neighborhood Amenity Zoning District, to provide for the protection of open spaces for existing neighborhoods in the event of the closure of an existing recreational or sporting facility. We'll now hear a report from Ms. Richardson. Ms. Richardson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is the proposed neighborhood amenity district that was created at council's direction as a way to provide a suitable new district for recreational facilities that are adjacent to existing neighborhoods in the county that have the potential for redevelopment in the event that that recreational facility were to close at some point in the future. The land use element of our comprehensive plan from 2024 did specifically talk about golf courses in particular, ones that are not located in planned developments. As we know, those have their own level of protection. The goal 4.8 from the land use element addresses golf courses. It refers to redevelopment of these properties, that they maintain a low overall density and that they preserve a significant portion of existing green space with a clustered development pattern that limits the impacts on the existing residential areas and the natural features of the area. The future land use map from that element designates these areas as conservation agriculture, which includes land that is critical for the health of watersheds and waterways, public recreational facilities, or specific protected features within neighborhood developments. As you know, we do have zoning ordinance and map updates planned to address the goals from our land use element. Those efforts are going to take some time, so this would be one way to ensure that the open spaces that these courses and recreational facilities provide would remain with limited development. The ordinance that's in front of you contains some intent language that was taken directly from the land use element that references the protection of the existing open spaces. It lists several permitted uses that include golf courses, associated amenities, social and cultural uses, public buildings, public or private parks, open spaces, recreational uses, and community gardens. It also lists some conditional uses. That includes commercial development based on our neighborhood commercial zoning designation only for tracts that front on a 4-lane or major highway. And single-family residential, which excludes mobile homes, with a limit of 1 unit for every 5 acres and only if it fronting on existing rights-of-way. The setbacks that are proposed in this district match the R10 zoning with 25 in the front, 10 on the side, and 15 in the rear. I did want to also mention that there may Seeing that both of these are in neighborhoods, there may be private deed restrictions that would further limit the development in these areas. Obviously, those aren't the county's regulations, but both things would apply to any future development in those areas. I also wanted to point out, of course, this particular ordinance item, and you know that we have two more following it. This one only adds the text of the neighborhood amenity district to the zoning ordinance. You'll see there are several articles listed that Mr. Chairman read off. That is because when we add a new district, we have to add it in multiple places. We have to add it to setbacks. We have to add it to signage. That's why kind of that list was so long. But this will only amend the text. It won't apply the zoning to specific areas. The Planning Commission met on April 17th and discussed this item. There were 10 people that spoke that day. Their concerns are listed there in your staff report. They spoke about the rights of the adjacent property owners, opposition to any future residential commercial development. There was some confusion about the clustering allowance, decreased property values, and concerns about flooding. The commission in this case did not provide a positive or negative recommendation for you. Their recommendation was to actually recommend deferral of this item, to recommend that you defer action on this item in order to obtain further information regarding a similar ordinance that was mentioned at the meeting from the town of Mount Pleasant, as well as a relevant court case from that same jurisdiction dealing with the golf course as well. Information on that town of Mount Pleasant zoning district has been provided in your packet. It's the Conservation Recreation Open Space District. I've also included a brief summary of the Dunes West versus town of Mount Pleasant court case, as well as a link in your packet. One last thing I did want to hint, there have been just a couple of changes since we did provide this to you for first reading. Those changes include some additional whereas language provided by Mr. Watson. I also added language that requires 100 feet of frontage for each residential lot. And I know there has also been some additional discussion about removing the clustering availability from the ordinance. So in the draft ordinance that it's in front of you, that language has also been removed. So that would limit any residential use to one lot per 5 acres, and you would have to have the 5 acres. You wouldn't be allowed to cluster it. Our calculations based on GIS data only, we believe our best estimate is that that would reduce both golf courses to 24 lots at one house per 5 acres. I will be glad to, and there are maps to that in your packet too. We can talk about that for the next two ordinances as well. I'll be glad to answer any questions you all might have.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson?
I have a couple questions.
Councilor Mercado.
Holly, what is, or is there a private recreational zoning district?
There is not a private recreational zoning district, no ma'am.
There's a lot of confusion on what that is. Can you describe what it is?
Yes. Private recreational was a land use designation from the 2007 comprehensive plan. That was how the golf courses that were not part of planned developments were designated in the 2007 plan.
And in that description, did it talk about housing at all?
No.
Okay. And the current zoning is the R10?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you multiply that out by acre, go up to the 5 acres, you can only have 1 per 5, which, as I stated earlier in the last meeting, it was a 95% reduction. And then thank you for the removing the clustering, because that'll increase the decrease in density. I appreciate it.
Correct.
I don't have any other questions right now.
Ms. Holly, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
So I just found this out, and thank you. So this wasn't an existing ordinance back in the day when this golf course, well, both golf courses were formed.
The golf courses have never been zoned private recreational. We've never had a zoning district, at least since I've been here to my knowledge, with that designation. It was a future land use map designation on the previous map.
All right, well, that's interesting to me because when I got involved in this thing after the last planning commission meeting, I had heard that back in 2018, the people that lived in Litchfield were promised to have this ordinance
either developed or I considered it was already there, that these two golf courses would just been placed under that ordinance, but that didn't exist, and that never happened. And that's not unusual for me to believe, with my years of experience sitting up here on this council. I think the only two people that are on here now that I've served with before is Lewis and Raymond. There've been a lot of changes, and I'm going to take you all back in history just a minute to try to explain how did we get here. Some of you older folks will remember back in the early 2000s, in the Clinton second administration, they decided everybody needed to buy a home. Everybody could own a home. So some smart people, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, got together and came up with a bill to allow the banks and lending institutions to loan anybody money with no requirements whatsoever. Well, that all blew up about 2007 to 2008, and this country was in big trouble. We were going to lose our four-star rating or whatever it was in the loaning institutions and everything else. I know Iceland went under because they bought a bunch of that useless paper to try to make a buck and lost everything. So we didn't see anything going on in Georgetown County, in my estimation, as far as any kind of building going on, development. When I came on council and I got to look back in 2011 through 2014, we never talked about anything to do with zoning ordinances. It was never an issue because there was nothing being built over here and very little being built on the other side of the river. So we were focused on things like getting the port dredged and finding ways to bring more jobs into Georgetown County, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here we are now, and we're trying to clean up the mess. We didn't do anything with our ordinance, or excuse me, our plan, for almost 20 years, I guess, from 2007 until 24 last year, we finally got that put together. It took us 17 years, I guess, to do that. And along the way, we didn't get a lot of things done, and this is one of them, and I understand that. When I got involved, what I did is I took a little bit different approach in that I wanted to see what the people had to say. So with the help of Stephen Goldfinch, who is the lawyer for the Founders Corporation, he wanted to have Cindy Person and Tom Stickler involved. So the two of them and I sat down and we looked at what you had to work with, and we felt that the best short-term solution was, because we even had to do a pending ordinance document on this because we were afraid that Founders would come in the door with a development and we wouldn't have been able to do anything. So we got together and decided the best thing we could do, with Holly Richardson's help and Jay Watson's help, we were able to come up with this plan to go ahead and do this neighborhood amenity zoning district, but we were going to eliminate the clustering and also cut the distance on the thoroughfares, roads or whatever, to 100 feet. And we did that because I was concerned that if I bought a 5-acre piece of property and the one on either side of me, I could go in there within that first year and put right-of-ways in and have a road in there by the end of the first year going to my other 2 pieces of property. And instead of making X number of dollars, I'd make 3 times that. So Miss Holly came up with that 100-foot thing. We got rid of the clustering, and we found out, and just by coincidence, that you could only build 24 houses, residents on each one of the golf courses. We went with that as a short-term fix. I got 38 letters in the mail today talking about why we didn't do this and why we didn't do that. Well, I can tell you the 4 people that got together on this, plus the lady sitting to my left here who brought this to everybody's attention in the first place when she heard that this might happen, to get rid of this 10,000 square foot lot thing. And we are where we are, but if we can get this thing finished up by next meeting for 3rd reading, then there's some other things that we're going to probably try to do to even tweak this a little bit more and make it better. So what I'm asking you all out there and you all out there in TV land is to give us a little time to fix this. And thank you for your help.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson.
Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Councilor Newton.
Ms. Holly, it's presently zoned R10. How many houses are allowed for that property, just one course?
I did do an example for Litchfield Country Club. It's about 156 acres. We normally assume about 1/3 of that, if developed, would be taken up with infrastructure. It's just a guess. That would take it down to about 104 acres, which would be at 4 units per acre, about 417 structures.
400 for that one course?
Yes, sir.
So we're reducing it from,
Just a very rough guess. estimate.
just, so we're reducing it, what, 95% down to 24?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from Ms. Holly?
Holly, I had a couple questions with respect to what Councilor Anderson was talking about with the emails. And the reason I bring it back up is because there's a lot of distraught citizens. And as he stated, we are decreasing density by over 95% now by removing the clustering with the amended version of this. So in your professional opinion, you received a lot of the emails where are people confused about the difference between what was the old comprehensive plan, private recreational designation versus what the actual zoning is?
I don't think everyone is confused. I have seen a few emails in both go-rounds to Planning Commission and the ones here for council in my review of them. There are some folks that refer to the zoning of private recreational. Zone it back to private recreational, return the zoning to private recreational. So I'm not sure everyone understands that distinction between the future land use map designation from 2007 and a zoning district. But it is an important distinction because, as I've said many times, the zoning is what regulates. The zoning is what tells us what to use when someone brings a plan in and whether or not it gets approved or not. The zoning is what tells us that. And right now that zoning is R10, 4 units per acre.
Thank you. When I spoke to multiple homeowners, that was the concern. And once I talked to them and explained the reduction in density, 100% of the people supported this change in the zoning district. Every single person I spoke with. So thank you, Mr. Anderson, for talking through it and explaining it to the public. I appreciate your help. Thanks, Holly.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything further? All right, we will move down. Chair will now entertain a motion for second reading approval ordinance 25-18 to amend Article 4, General Provisions, Article 5, Establishment of Districts, Article 6, Requirements by District, Article 7, Area, Yard, and Height Requirements, and Article 10, Sign Regulations, to add a new zoning district, the Neighborhood Amenity Zoning District, to provide for the protection of open spaces for existing neighborhoods in the event of the closure of an existing recreational sporting facility. The chair will now entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there any discussion? All right, now we will call for a motion to incorporate the amended text. Is there a motion to incorporate the amended text of 2518?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Is there any discussion? We will now vote on the amendment with the amended text. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? The amendment passes. Now we'll move back to the original amendment. All in favor of the original amendment as amended, please raise your hand. All opposed? The amendment passes. Ordinance 2518 is approved. We'll now move down to Ordinance 2519 to rezone the Litchfield Country Club Golf Course located throughout the Litchfield Country Club neighborhood and along Country Club Drive in Litchfield identified as TMS 04-0186-089-00-00 from 10,000 square foot residential R10 to neighborhood amenity district. This is in Council District number 6. Ms. Richardson, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. This parcel tract contains about 156 acres and is home to the Litchfield Golf and Country Club. As we said, it's currently zoned R10, as is the adjoining residential neighborhood. It also contains a clubhouse and associated parking. This is a council-generated rezoning request, and it brings the property into compliance with the land use element and the future land use map. As we said, R10 allows for 4 units per acre. It does not allow for mobile homes. It does not currently allow for golf courses, interestingly enough. Also allows for public buildings and accessory uses. The surrounding uses to this property include planned developments to the northeast and the west, as well as PD and FA zoning to the south. Surrounding uses for the neighborhood include planned residential developments, some vacant property, other recreational uses, and an assisted living facility. The golf course itself is, of course, bordered by residential lots on 10,000 square feet. This new NA district would allow for the golf course and its associated amenities, and it would accommodate the existing use. One thing to note, the neighborhood commercial section or the commercial conditional use that we talked about for the NA district does not apply here, as this tract does not have any frontage on the 4-lane highway. We looked at the residential development potential based on the 1 unit per 5 acres, just based on a GIS analysis. The number that we have come up with is 24 units if you take out the clustering option, which I guess we have taken out the clustering option at this point. So we're looking at our estimate of a number 24 units. The property is not located in a flood zone. This property is designated as conservation agriculture on the future land use map, and this does comport with the language from the conservation agricultural future land use map designation. Planning Commission also held a public hearing on this item. We did have some folks signed up. Not very many people spoke once the commission recommended deferral on the text itself. Some people who had signed up removed their names. The commission recommendation here was the same. It was to defer action pending, for you to defer action pending further information. The only change that has happened to this since first reading is some additional whereas language provided by the county attorney. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson on Ordinance 2519? All right, hearing none, we will call for a motion for second reading approval of Ordinance 25-19 to rezone the Litchfield Country Club Golf Course located throughout the Litchfield Country Club neighborhood and along Country Club Drive in Litchfield identified as TMS 04-0186-089-00-00 from 10,000 square foot residential or R10 to neighborhood amenity district NA. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there any discussion? We will now call for a motion to incorporate the amended text. Is there a motion on the floor to incorporate the amended text for Ordinance 2519?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there any discussion?
Thank you, Holly.
We will now vote on the amended motion with the amended text. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? The amended text passes. We will now vote on the original amendment. Move back to the original amendment. Or all in favor of the original amendment as amended, please raise your hand. All opposed? Ordinance 2519 passes. Move down to Ordinance 2520 to rezone the Founders Golf Club or Founders Club Golf Course located throughout the Hagley neighborhood at the intersection of Kings River Road and Highway 17 and Pawleys Island, identified as TMS number 04-0208-087-00-00 from 10,000 square foot residential R10 to neighborhood amenity, Council District Number 2. Ms. Richardson, you have the floor.
Yes, this tract contains about 166 acres according to our GIS maps and is home to the Founders Golf Club course. It is also zoned R10 today, and this is a request to bring it in compliance with the land use element and the future land use map. Just a couple of different things I'll point out about this one. The clubhouse for Founders Club is actually already zoned general commercial. You're familiar with it. It's there at the corner of Kings River Road and 17. So it is already zoned GC. It's not part of this rezoning request. This property is surrounded by GC and PD zoning to the east and PD and FA zoning to the north and the south. The Waccamaw River borders the Hagley neighborhood to the west, and the surrounding uses for the neighborhood are residential PDs, a 1 acre residential subdivision, and some commercial properties along Highway 17. I did want to point out the neighborhood commercial designation would apply here. There is one section of the Founders Golf Club that fronts on Highway 17. So the ordinance as proposed would allow for conditional development of neighborhood commercial for that tract. Again, the same number here. When we did our analysis, it looks like without the clustering, we're looking at a potential for 24 residential units. This property is also not located in a flood zone. It is also designated as conservation agriculture on the future land use map, and this rezoning would bring that into compliance. The Planning Commission made the same recommendation here to recommend that you defer for further information. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Oh, and the same whereas language was added here. That is the change from first reading to second.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion for second reading approval of ordinance number 25-20 to rezone the Founders Club Golf Course located throughout the Hagley neighborhood and at the intersection of Kings River Road and Highway 17 in Pawleys Island, identified as TMS 040-02-08-087-00-00, from 10,000 square foot residential or R10 to neighborhood amenity. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? We'll now entertain a motion to incorporate the amended text. Is there a motion on the floor to incorporate the amended text?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? We'll now vote on the amendment, the amended motion with the amended text. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? The amended text is incorporated. We'll now move back to the original motion, and we will vote on second reading of the approval with the amended text. Is all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Ordinance 2520 passes 7-0. We will now move down to first reading of ordinances. The following ordinances are to be read into the record by title only. Ordinance number 25-21 to amend the previously approved Sanderling Bay subdivision zoned as Flexible Design District FDD located at the corner of Martin Luther King Road and Pettigrew Drive in Pawleys Island, identified as TMS number 04-0413-047-00-00 for a change to the rear setback regulation. This is in Council District 6. Ordinance number 25-22, an ordinance to Chapter 5.5 Beach Regulations, Article 2, to amend and add definitions and to regulate fishing on public beaches and provide for safety on public beaches. Ordinance number 25-23, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes and incentive agreement by and between Diatom US Incorporated and Georgetown County, South Carolina, provided for payment by the company for certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for special source revenue credits in connection with such agreement, providing for the location of property and allocation of fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes payable under the agreement, providing for the establishment of a multi-county industrial/business park, and providing for the other matters relating thereto. We'll move down to the approval of minutes. We will entertain a motion to approve the regular council meeting amendment meeting for May 13th, 2025. Is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion.
So moved by Councilor Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Charlton. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. The minutes are approved. Now, we will call for any further business to come before council for tonight's meeting.
Yes. Chair, there was some question regarding pending ordinance that we did on first reading on ordinances 2518, 2519, and 2520, bringing it back from being tabled. I want to make sure that we go ahead and vote again on those. Is that correct?
You're asking me?
Yes.
That would be fine. Yes, I think the question arose because there wasn't a, as I recall, a motion to bring it from the table. Okay, so a motion that's laid on the table can be brought off the table by the party who moved to put it on the table. Seeing as how you're the one that moved to put it on the table, and then you brought the motion again, and it was voted on and passed. I think it's fine, although you didn't maybe miss a step there. But just to remove all doubt, if you want to rebring the motion again to invoke the pending ordinance doctrine on
518, 19.
yeah, you reference your second reading ordinances, it would be 2414, 25, hold up a second.
18, 19, and
19
20.
and 20.
There we go, 18, 19, 20, wrong page, thank you. Yes, just bring the motion again, afresh.
Okay.
Just bring it all over again. and
So we'll
then
just
you
do
got
it one at a time,
It's fine.
just to make it easy. Move that we invoke pending ordinance on 25-18.
You've heard the motion from Councilor Mercado to invoke pending ordinance on ordinance 2518. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Pending ordinance is applied.
And I move to apply pending ordinance on 25-19.
You've heard a motion for pending ordinance on ordinance 25-19 by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Pending ordinance is invoked.
And finally, I'd like to bring motion back to do pending ordinance for ordinance 25-20.
You've heard a motion to bring pending ordinance for motion 25 or ordinance 25-20 by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Pending ordinance is invoked on ordinance 25-20. Are there any further business to come before council at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newton. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. We stand adjourned.